Hi, my name is Ronil Hora, and I will be presenting my Pi project. So, the project that I chose is the security camera with cloud storage. The main aspect of this project is that the webcam can detect motion so that any potential security threat will be recorded. Another important impact of this project is that all videos will be uploaded to the cloud. This makes it so that the user doesn't need to be on the Raspberry Pi itself in order to see recorded videos. The final main part of this project is that files will be automatically transferred from local storage to the cloud. Now, this project connects very well to the architecture principles taught in this class. To start, the webcam used for video recording is a peripheral device that communicates extensively with the CPU in input operations. The second aspect is file system management. Another big part of this project is making sure that files are stored locally and on the cloud. Third aspect is Linux programming. I used Linux programming to automate the file transfers from local storage on the Pi to cloud storage in my Google Drive. The fourth aspect is hardware resource allocation. Since many concurrent processes were operating at the same time, such as the webcam recording videos with motion detection, my script running in the background to automate the file transfers, there was a lot going on that was very extensive on the hardware of the Raspberry Pi, and I saw that a lot throughout this project. The fifth aspect is networking. Um, I used software and modules from the internet. I used different guides out there on the web to help me finish this project. And also, MotionEye itself is a web-based application that can only be accessed through the internet. So, this is the first error I ran into when I began installing the MotionEye software. The error says that MotionEye couldn't start because the service itself wasn't found. This meant that I must have entered one of my commands wrong when I was going through the process of installing MotionEye. So I was able to fix this by just completely restarting my Pi and reinstalling MotionEye, and it was successful. Now, once MotionEye was installed, this screenshot shows where I was adjusting my optimal video settings for my webcam. You can see that I adjusted the sliders for gain, contrast, uh, and different other settings like video resolution in order to get videos to properly come out. Uh, you can see here that the webcam does indeed work with MotionEye software. This was from after I finished configuring my video settings to make sure that videos came out smoothly. This picture shows when I was testing the settings for motion detection. As you can see, I had the motion detection tab open and I was kind of playing around with the settings. You can see this red rectangle here that signifies that motion was successfully being detected, which meant that part was a success. Now, this video will show the motion detection working. So as you can see, it started off with the camera off. The moment I turn on the camera, you can see that the red rectangle shows that motion is being detected. There's also a thinner red rectangle around the entire webcam box that shows it's recording. Uh, and that wasn't there before the motion was being detected. So we can see that my motion detecting was working and it only started recording once it detected motion. Now, on the bottom left over here, you can see that I put a gap of 10 seconds before the recording stops. So that means once motion stops being recorded, it waits for 10 seconds just in case there's anything else that may be there. And you can see now it's stopped recording because it's been 10 seconds. So you can see that that aspect works. Now, here you can see where on my drive, the files are being uploaded on my local drive. Now, you can also see a little bit below that, I had initially tried uploading the files directly to Google Drive straight from MotionEye, but that didn't work as I kept receiving an error message saying that MotionEye was denied access to Google Drive. So I fixed this using rclone. This is a software that allows you to copy files from one directory to another, and it even lets you copy files from a local directory to a cloud directory or vice versa. And it has many other operations as well, but this is the only one that I was interested in for the scope of this project. So these are some errors I faced when I was first installing and configuring rclone. The image on the left shows that the rclone config command isn't working. This is the base command you need in order to set up rclone with the drive. So I figured I had messed up at some point in one of my commands when I was installing rclone. So I fixed this issue by deleting the version of rclone that I had already installed and reinstalling it correctly. Now, the screenshot on the right is from after I had fixed the issue on the left. rclone was already installed correctly at this point. And so now I ran into a different error saying that it could not authenticate rclone to work with a shared drive. This was one of the many settings that I had to configure after rclone was set up on the device when I was configuring a specific remote to work with my Google Drive specifically. So after tampering with a bunch of different settings for 20, 30 minutes, I was able to finally get it to successfully work and create a successful remote to link to my Google Drive. You can see that here as this image shows my remote called official remote connected to my drive. And you can see that there were no errors here. So this remote was successfully created. Now I'm able to transfer drives from local storage to my Google Drive. Now, this image here, you can see where I tested rclone's ability to copy files from my Raspberry Pi's local storage to my Google Drive on the cloud. The command I used was rclone sync-v, then the directory on my local storage that I wanted to copy from, then the name of the rclone remote that I had created, and the name of the directory in my Google Drive that I wanted the files to get copied to. You can see here that all the files from this directory were copied successfully to my Google Drive with no errors. Once I confirmed that file transfers worked, the next step was making it so that files can be automatically transferred to the drive without me having to manually enter in the command every single time. The first step to do this was creating an sh file to put the command for copying files into. As you can see, the same command from the previous slide is in this sh file. The next step was to go to a terminal window and use cron tab, which is a process that allows tasks to run automatically in the background on Linux without requiring user interaction. So you can see here, I changed the file permissions for the folder permissions for where my sync file was, and then I ran cron tab. And then I created a nano script. It only contains this one line of code, but that's all that was necessary to automate the file transfers. This command made it so that the sh file I created earlier with the rclone command is told to run every 5 minutes. This video shows that the file transfers were indeed successful. As you can see, the entire directory on my Raspberry Pi where the files were being uploaded to from MotionEye is fully synced with my Google Drive. Every single file that existed on my Raspberry Pi is there and visible on my Google Drive. So here's me just showing you how all the files are indeed there. And remember, the script I created was set to run every 5 minutes. So that ensures constant updating of the Google Drive. So some lessons I learned. The first one was being careful when inputting commands. Most of the errors I ran into were a result of me inputting commands wrong, whether when I was installing software or trying to configure my rclone remote. So next time I would be much more careful with that in order to save time. And another lesson I learned was to only focus on one thing at a time in order to save confusion. Throughout this project, I multitasked a lot. I was trying to set up the automation script while I was doing other things like making sure Motion Eye was running correctly, storing files properly where it was supposed to. And it kind of just made my entire process take even longer and become more confusing than it should have been. So that's one thing I will not be doing next time. Thank you for watching my presentation on my Pi project for the security camera with motion detection.